This is Grandpa Shart coming at you live from Grandpa Shart's garage again with Grandma Shart. We got a new preacher in town, and he's riding his bicycle through the little old town, and he's seen this little boy on the side of the road with a lawnmower for sale. He said, "Well, I need me a lawnmower to mow the parsonage yard." Said, I'll just see what this boy wants for his lawnmower." They got to talking and decided they just trade the bicycle for the lawnmower. Well, the preacher took it home. He's having trouble cranking it later on, and the boy come by riding the bicycle. The preacher said, "I think there's something wrong with this lawnmower you traded me for." He says, "It won't crank." And the boy said, "Well, just cuss and it'll crank." He said, "Son, I've been a preacher for 30 years. I ain't cussed in years." He says, I don't even know if I remember how. And he said, "Well, just keep pulling that rope and it'll come back to you." But today we're going to talk about a little plant soil science. We're going to talk about preparing your beds to plant your garden. And I'm going to do a little series on plant stuff and garden in general. Now, one of the biggest mistakes that people make is they'll just do it willy-nilly. They'll just start planting stuff. They'll buy a plant and they won't know nothing about it. They don't know if it likes acidic soil. They don't know if it likes dry soil. They don't know if it likes wet soil. They just put it down and say, "Well, I'll just water it and feed it and it'll be all right." Well, the truth is, that plant is just like me and you. That plant mates like me and you. It goes to the bathroom like me and you. It has waste. It talks to other plants like me and you. It does everything me and you do. And as a matter of fact, there's some plants that don't get along with each other, and they're not going to prosper to their full potential if you plant them close to each other because they don't like each other. Now, you can look this up on the internet. I mean, it ain't nothing that's a secret, but you need to do some research on what you're planting and where to plant it and what it likes. Now, if you're planting a garden, you need to prepare your soil. You try to, if you can. There's a hard pan, what they call a hard pan down there that's a few inches deep. And, you go to digging or you go to plowing and you'll find out where it is pretty fast. It's a layer of compacted soil. And if you can, you need to dig that up and bust it up because it'll let more moisture down in the ground where them roots are, and it'll allow them roots to go on down there and deeper and get more food. And you need to put some manure out and let it, if you ain't already, and let it sit for a little while, at least a few days, and let it simmer down, or you'll burn the plants up. But you ain't got to. But you're going to have to water it. You're going to have to feed it. Now, if you dig down in the soil about 3 or 4 inches and you don't feel no moisture, you need to water it. You need to fertilize. A lot of people, there's 2 schools of thought about this fertilizing. There's 2 schools of thought about poisoning pesticides. Now, I'm in the middle. I believe, you need to fertilize with manure. Manure does a lot of stuff. It makes the soil where it'll hold more moisture. It makes it where it'll wash less. It'll have better texture. It's good fertilizer. But the thing about it is, as far as the farmers that grow our food, if they went straight to natural fertilizer, we'd lose 50% of our crops. You can't do that. I've seen these neighbors of mine try to grow naturally, and they got the sorriest looking plants I've ever seen because they're starving to death. All that when you buy like 6-6-12 or triple 13 or something like that, you just putting the nutrients back in the soil that came from the soil. I mean, it ain't really, you ain't putting hydraulic acid or something in the soil. As far as poisoning goes, I try not to go no further than, I try not to use nothing but 7 dust. And then, like about a month before I go to harvest, or at least 3 weeks before I go to harvest, I lay off of it and let it get out of its system. Because like I said, a plant will, goes to the bathroom just like we do, and it'll excrete. A lot of people don't know this, but plants talk to each other through chemicals and root systems, especially in a forest. In a forest, everything's so compacted, and trees so close to each other, and ferns and everything else, that and vines, that all them roots are connected. So if you got something going on like an ant infestation, the trees down the road there will know. Or if you got, some kind of born animal that's born all into trees and killing them, the trees down the way is going to know. And it's kind of like an internet for them, I guess you could say. Now, you're going to have to fertilize it, or it ain't going to do worth a flip. You're going to have corn maturing too early and tossling when it's only about 3 or 4 foot high. It'll look like popcorn, and it's field corn, which ain't supposed to toss until it gets over your head. It just ain't gonna do well unless you throw some fertilizer on it. And like I said, you can look up how much to put on it. You don't need me telling you. I usually take a handful and run it down the middle of the row. You don't want it touching the plants, but you want it fairly close to them, not in the middle of the row. I just take a handful and throw it about 5 or 6 foot down the row. Have me a little string of fertilizer going down through there. That's how I do it, because I've been doing it so long, I can kind of tell how much it needs. You're going to have to ply it under, because if you don't, the sun's going to rob you. And you ain't going to get 20 or 30% of what that fertilizer can do if you don't ply it under. And if you got headlights, this is another thing, if you got headlights, are you gonna go to the store and get you some Nix or some Red or some kind of chemical to get rid of your headlights? Well, the same way with a plant. Now, unless you're retired and you can go out there and put soapy water on it every day, and soapy water works in many applications, but unless you're retired, you can just go out there every day and pick the bugs off and spray soapy water on it every day. You need to put some kind of chemical on it. 99% of the time, I can get rid of pea lice and stuff like that with just an application of 7 dust, and 7 dust isn't that harsh. And if you don't use none, 3 or 4 weeks before harvest, the plant won't have nothing in it. It'll done excreted it all out. Now, if you can't bust up the hard pan, don't worry about it. You get somebody with a tractor to do it next year, or because it's about time to plant right now where I live. It probably is where you live. Now, what you plant this time of year is like cool weather plants, like onions and turnips and stuff like that. You could plant them in the summer, but the thing about it is, it's too dry for them really in the summer, and then the hotter it gets, the harder that dang onion gets. And you want your, like, turnips to be sweet, and, you have a little bite to them, but not a whole lot of bite, if you're like me, the hotter it is, just like you plant hot peppers, the hotter it is where you are, the hotter that dang pepper's gonna be. Now, but you're going to have to use poison if unless you're retired, or you staying at home every day and can go out there and play with it every day. If you got a big garden, forget about it. Unless you want to be out there all day, every day, you know, you're gonna have to use some 7 dust or something. Like I said, 7 dust is a good one. It's not that harsh. I have, on very extreme occasions, used harsher, but it was like when one year I had an infestation of those Colorado potato bugs, and they tore my potatoes up, and I tried everything trying to get rid of them, never did. If any of y'all have a better way of doing it, getting rid of them Colorado potato bugs, leave me a comment. Because last time I grew potatoes, they killed me. And I couldn't get rid of them for nothing, no matter what I did. But don't get frustrated, I didn't, you know. You want to keep an eye on your garden, go out there and look at it every day. Now, I'll tell you something else about plants. They don't like nicotine. So if you smoke, don't smoke in your garden. And just remember, look up what don't like each other. Now you ain't got to really dang get rid of your hard pan, but it's ideal. You know, if you can get a tractor out there that'll bust up that hard pan and you know, go pretty deep, where you can plow pretty deep, and them roots can get down as deep as they can, that's ideal. But if you can't, that's fine. But if you got a rear ting tiller like most people, when you're going over that hard pan, you don't want to get it too deep. You do want to know where that hard pan is, because if you put that stake too deep when you're plowing, that rear tine tiller is going to jump, son, and you don't want to do that. It'll jerk out of your hands. It'll jerk and go about 2 or 3 feet just like that. Them tings don't like that hard pan. So what I do is I go down like 1 inch at a time, you know, if I don't know exactly where it is. And another thing, you're going to have to go out there once a week and chop it. If you don't, you're going to be out there all day for about 2 or 3 days in a row. If you go out there every week and clean it out, clean all the grass out, it won't take that long. You keep up with it, stay on top of it. But if you know, let it go like a lot of people, you got grass over your head out there in their garden. Not only does it look like crap, but it's terrible for the plants. It's choking them out. You know, then you might as well not even have a garden as far as I'm concerned. But if you keep it cleaned out, you know, after you have the garden in the same spot for a few years, it'll get easier and easier to chop. But anyway, I'm just doing a little series. I'm not a real big believer in long videos, even though I'm long-winded. You know, and don't stress out about the little things. You know, I mean, Jerry Clyre said you can plant a lot more on a crooked road than you can a straight road. If your row ain't exactly straight, that's fine. You know, the main things is feed it, fertilize it, keep the insects off of it, and don't plant stuff together that don't go together. And I will be back with you in a few days with another series of gardening. Anyway, Grandpa Shart out, but before I go, remember, Jesus in your heart will bring you joy. Jesus in your relationships will bring you stability. And for all you naysayers out there, honk honk, and all you people that like me, big thumbs up now. Y'all be good, and I will see you next time.